Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Roger H3, and today we're going to be talking about the real patch notes that came out for Season 9 and what the changes mean for Overwatch 2. For those of you who don't know, the Season 9 patch notes have officially been released. There was a blog post by Blizzard roughly 3 or 4 days ago that outlines all the changes that are going to be coming in Season 9. Also, if you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe and drop a like if you enjoy the content, as well as leave a comment on what you think about Season 9 and how you feel about these upcoming changes. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and run through the upcoming changes and everything that's outlined in this blog in order that it's listed. So first off, we have the upcoming rank changes for Season 9. So to start, the blog talks about how they're going to be more transparent about our rank and how our rank is changing between game to game. This is firstly displayed with this new legend that they're providing us that shows us how our performance, or more or less the team performance each game, affects how our rank changes after we win or lose. Now personally, I'm interested to see how these modifiers come into play in our ranks when we play competitive. Honestly, I find it a little confusing how one team can be favored to win over another if going into the new ranking system, it's supposed to be 1-to-1 in terms of ranks. So if I recall correctly, they were saying that if you have a Masters tank, they'll verse a Masters tank on the other team. If you have a Plat support, they'll verse a Plat support on the other team. So if this is supposed to be making our games more even, I'm a little unsure how they're considering one team more or less probable to win than the other. I would personally assume if this is correct and this is indeed the direction they take comp this coming season, then I think maybe they're going to say one team is more likely to win based off of a win streak or a loss streak. So if you have one team who maybe is 3-5 on the day and another team that's 5-0 on the day, you would expect the team that's 5-0 to probably win that match, as they're people who have been on a win streak, whereas the ones who haven't won as many games on the day might be expected to lose. Following this, we are actually presented with the rank reset, which I'm personally excited for. We see that we now are going to get 10 placement matches, as well as we will get a predicted rank in the middle of our screen that we can see after every game, which will also be awesome. Now, I for one am personally curious how our current rank is going to play into our rank for Season 9. As far as I'm aware, this is supposed to be a soft rank reset, so although our ranks are completely resetting and everybody's going to be quote-unquote unranked, I think there is some weigh-in on our current ranks from Season 8 to kind of give the system a advantage in knowing where somebody belongs. So if you end Season 8 in Plat, likely it's going to have an idea that you should be somewhere around Plat, but if you win a lot of your initial placement games, you might reach Diamond or potentially low Masters. Also, I do want to pull one quote from the blog here, and you guys can kind of take this as you will, but it does indeed state, "You'll only have one chance this year to run your placement matches, so pick your best heroes and stay hydrated because these games count for a lot." This leads me to believe that if you do really well in these placement matches, or even really bad, we might see a lot of fluctuations in ranks. We may see some with inflated ranks come crashing down, and we may see some who have lower ranks who have improved greatly get the opportunity to jump 1 or 2 whole ranking tiers, or for example going from gold to diamond or bronze to gold or something of that nature. Then lastly, in terms of actual ranks and the ranking system itself, we do see the announcement and the showcase of the new symbol for the new rank that's being added to Overwatch, which will be called Champion, and it'll be held above Grandmaster but below top 500. Now, diverging from the new rank in the new comp system, they did announce Jade weapons and how our comp tokens are going to work going forward. So Jade weapons will still maintain the price of 3,000 comp tokens. Now, my impressions of Jade, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I don't think it's bad. I think it'll look okay on some characters. And this is going to sound a little weird, but I kind of wish it was like diamond encrusted, or almost like, I guess, bedazzled in a way to explain it. I wish they made the gun a little bit shinier and kind of have like a diamond finish on the outside to make it look a little bit better. To me, it just kind of looks green. But I mean, it's okay, and hopefully it looks good on some characters. Now, the part that stands out to me, and I understand why they're doing it, however, I'm not sure I 100% like it, is all of your current comp points are getting migrated to being legacy points. So essentially, they won't be points that are able to be used towards Jade weapons. You can only use those towards gold weapons. So the legacy currency for 2024 will be for gold weapons, and the normal comp currency will be for the Jade weapons. Now, the part about this that I don't 100% like, and the main reason I don't 100% like this is because, like I said, I prefer the gold over the Jade weapon skins, is you cannot get any more legacy points until the end of 2024 whenever they redo this legacy conversion again. So whatever current comp points you have that'll get moved to legacy points, this is the last time you'll get legacy points until the end of the year if you have leftover comp points again. Now, with this being said, I just want to send out a warning. If you're somebody who doesn't have a ton of gold weapons and you really like gold weapons and you're not sure who to get it for, make sure you spend those legacy points in the manner that you truly want to, because once they're spent, once again, you will not get legacy points again until the end of 2024. So for me, I have enough to get one more gold weapon, but I'm going to wait until season 9 to see what characters I end up playing the most and what characters I like the best. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my last gold weapon on one of them. Now, lastly, we can actually finally move on to the official gameplay changes. And some of you may be happy about this. Some of you may not be happy about this. But the Season 9 patch leaks turn out to be true. So for the majority of the Season 9 patch leaks, if not all of them, these are all actually outlined in this blog as true changes that are going to be coming as soon as Season 9 drops. Now, Blizzard does go ahead and outline that a lot of these changes are happening because they are listening to the community, and they outline 3 main things that they're trying to achieve with these changes. One is to deliver a more consistent feel to firing and landing your shots on opponents. 2 is to lessen the impacts of burst damage to allow a greater counterplay. And 3 is to adjust where in-game healing and damage are effective to reduce the stagnant team fights. Now, the first change that they're making to try to achieve these 3 points that they outlined is to increase the projectile sizes across nearly all characters in Overwatch 2. There are some who are going to be left out. However, the large majority are going to see the projectile size increase. Now, this is something that was outlined in the patch leaks that happened a few weeks ago. And this is kind of a topic that could go both ways. Some people see it as a positive, some people see it as a negative. However, either way, this is something that is coming true. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put up the outline of how the projectile sizes are changing across different heroes. I do believe it seems to be there is a correlation between projectiles that travel faster getting a smaller projectile size increase, where projectiles that travel slower get a larger projectile size increase. That probably also has something to do with the speed at what a gun fires. So, for example, soldiers on the lower side of the projectile size increase. However, his gun shoots much faster in relation to the other guns in Overwatch. Now, I personally do have some doubts about this change. I'm not sure why we're increasing the size of all projectiles in the game. In my opinion, you should just increase the hitbox of some of the characters that are harder to hit, such as maybe Kiriko, Tracer, Sombra, and characters of that nature. However, Blizzard does outline that they think that this is something that is an improvement across the board. They specifically say when it comes to aiming as a mechanical skill requirement, even players with excellent aim often mention how it can feel random whether shots hit or not. Now, I do agree with this. However, I think in more cases, at least in my games, we complain about people who hit lucky shots rather than us seemingly hitting shots that aren't registering. Now, it does happen, and I'm not going to say it doesn't. Both cases happen in the games I play in. However, a lot of the complaints still seem to usually be around lucky shots, and this isn't something that's going to necessarily improve that. And I think if we would have just seen it increase to some characters' hitboxes, it probably would have been a better and potentially easier solution in terms of gameplay. Now, it probably would have been harder for the devs to implement, but I think it would have been a better solution. But I am going to be hopeful and positive about this change and say I do think that Blizzard knows where they're going with this. And I hope that this, paired with some of the other changes that we're going to talk about here shortly, do really help the gameplay. Now, next up, we do see outlined that there will be an increase to the health pool for every hero. Now, this is something that was also noted in the patch leaks, and this is also, once again, something that is coming true from the patch leaks. So here they specifically outline that for heroes that have 150 to 175 HP will have their HP increased by 25. Heroes that have 200 to 300 HP will have their HP increased by 50. And all tanks or characters that have 300 plus HP will have their HP increased by 75 to 100. Now, to me, this seemed a little counterintuitive in terms to the projectile size increase. However, I don't mind, at least specifically the tanks getting more HP, because I know there are circumstances where a lot of people feel like tanks need that extra HP because they haven't been able to have the sustain that they need to actually be able to make pushes and win team fights. Now, Blizzard does outline that they do this in order to balance out the fact that they're increasing the projectile size, and they say that this should increase the number of shots per se in order to eliminate somebody by 1 for each character. Now, I do think even with just these two things we talked about, which is the projectile size increase and the health pool increase, we're already reaching the territory where it's going to be hard to determine how the game is actually going to play out and how this is 100% going to change without actually playing the game. So for me personally, I am hopeful that Season 9 is going to be really positive and really good with all these changes. However, we're already in that territory where it's going to be iffy, and we can't really 100% say that these are good or bad changes. Now, the last set of changes that are outlined in this blog post are the role passive changes. Now, we do see that the tank role passive has not changed. However, here we see noted specifically the all heroes get their health regen. So the health regen will be 20 health per second after not taking damage for 5 seconds. This is something that we knew was coming, and now we officially know what the numbers are. I think that this is okay. Honestly, I don't think this is going to be a huge effect just because the fact that it takes 5 whole seconds for it to start. And that's really only going to happen outside of battle or in specific situations. Now, next up is the change to the DPS passive, and this is something I don't think any of us really expected until the Season 9 patch leaks came out, and this once again confirms that that's something else that was true. And now for DPS, dealing damage reduces the target's healing by 20%. Now, I think this is a pretty big change, and honestly, this alone is probably going to change how a lot of people are going to have to play the game. A lot of people always praise those who use natural cover really well, and I think with this passive being added, you're going to have to use natural cover, especially as a tank, or else you're probably not going to really be able to get enough heals from your supports in order to stay alive if you are taking damage at all times. Now, I do think in certain situations, this is going to be a really good addition to the game. For example, when you're trying to kill supports, and a lot of people like to complain about this, however, I do agree with them from time to time. It seems like supports are almost unkillable, especially if they are pocketing each other. And in this example, this will reduce the support sustain and allow you to be able to eliminate them without feeling like every time you shoot them, they just get max health again and you can never kill them. I'm very hopeful that this is going to be a good change to the game. I do understand that this is going to require a gameplay change by a lot of people, and a lot of people are going to have to realize and take note on how to take natural cover and how to not take damage all the time. I, for one, also forget about that sometimes. Sometimes I do a really good job at taking cover, and other times I do a really bad job and I get carried away and I rely on my supports to keep me alive. However, this is something that's definitely going to have to change this season. Now, lastly, the last passive that we have to talk about is the support passive, and this has been updated for supports to regen health after 2.5 seconds. I believe the time has been reduced. I think it was around 3 seconds or somewhere around there. So hopefully this isn't anything that's too oppressive. However, we will have to see how it plays out. Once again, there has been a lot of changes coming for Season 9, so it's really hard to tell what's going to be good, what's going to be bad, and how everything is going to pan out until Season 9 rolls around here. Now, as promised, it's time for me to leave you guys with some final thoughts on my opinion on Season 9 and how I think Season 9 is going to play out. I, for one, am super excited for the rank reset. I think this is going to be a good thing for me personally to increase my rank even more than what I already have. For those of you who don't know, I am practically like a low diamond player right now, high plat. I've made a lot of progress the last 2 seasons, and this coming season, I want to continue to climb and hit masters at least in one role. So I'm super excited for this change. I think this is going to be great. In terms of the gameplay changes, as I mentioned, I think there's a lot going on here, and it's going to be hard to really know how things are going to play out until the game does start playing. I am hopeful that these changes are going to fix a lot of the issues we see. I think some of the issues that are going to continue to be prevalent is tank sustain. I think it's going to be really difficult for tanks who don't know how to use cover to stay alive, especially with the new DPS passive. I also think for those of you who do not like DPS supports, I'm sorry, but we're still going to see a lot of those, especially once again referring back to the DPS passive. Healing as a support is going to be less impactful than continuing to do damage. So you're still going to see a lot of supports doing quite a bit of damage. And for DPS specifically, I'm thinking this patch in Season 9 is going to feel like a W for the DPS. As long as things aren't too lopsided, I think that DPS is going to continue to feel impactful and more impactful over the next few seasons, as long as these changes don't get reverted. The main thing with DPS is you're just going to have to watch your health and play cover well, because that DPS passive, if another DPS is doing damage to you, will once again reduce the healing that you can receive. However, that DPS passive is going to be the thing, once again, that's going to change how the game plays the most, in my opinion. Once again, if you guys are new, or if you've been around and just haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel to help support me, and drop a like if you enjoy the content. Also, once again, leave a comment and let me know what you think about Season 9, how you feel about the future of Overwatch, and if you're excited for this coming season, or if you're not so excited and you don't really like the changes. Thank you all for sticking around. I appreciate it. If you guys made it this far, or if you hopped to the end, either way, you guys are awesome, and I appreciate the support, and we will see you all next time.